sliding door at us. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. Apologies for the technical difficulties and the delay. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please include your name and unit, the chat box, so that we know who's here, and then ask any questions in the chat, and then Lisa can read them off to us when we get to an appropriate place. All right. Great. I start us with the pledge.
Yeah, Chance, you mind joining me? All right, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So
use Robert's shoulder.
Yep. Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. All right, the Scout oath. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, and to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. The Scout law. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. 2.
Prepare yourselves in the manner you're accustomed. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the wonderful opportunity we're able to gather this evening through the technology that's been provided to us, that we can discuss the affairs of our council, to share how we can continue to impact the lives of young men and young women throughout our peninsula with the values of the Scout Oath and Law. Help us to clearly communicate to our volunteers the needs that we have at the council, as well as to be able to serve the needs that our volunteers and our youth have, that we can continue to make this program ever better. We continue to ask for your hand and your guidance as we serve your youth. We humbly ask of these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. So we wanted to have this fireside chat so that we could update y'all on some of the things that are coming down the pike. First, if you've seen the recent rollout of our strategic vision, you know that one of our big rock goals is to serve 10,000 youth in the next 3 years, to get our membership back up to 10,000. And that's the most important, the most ambitious of our goals. But we've identified several areas of focus that'll help us achieve it. First and foremost, we need more manpower. So our field staff is working hard to organize new units, increase unit size, and service, and recruit volunteers and youth membership. But we've also increased, in an effort to increase that manpower, we've also increased the size of our board. As a lot of you know, having served on our board, some of you having served on our board, currently serving on our board, many of you having served on boards for other organizations, a board can be very effective in getting the word out about opportunities, and in this case specifically, the opportunities for youth in scouting. We'll continue to identify and recruit new board members and continue to make new inroads to the communities they represent and that we serve throughout the council. And along those lines, if you've got ideas about anybody you think would make a good board member, then certainly reach out to Robert and let him know so that we can take a look at that person, consider them for board membership, and maybe recruit them to join us. We're also doing everything we can to help district level volunteers recruit more help to the committees and commissioners' staffs. It sounds simple, but the more people we have involved as volunteers, the faster the good work of scouting spreads through a community. And that's especially true at the district level. The folks that are boots on the ground doing the good work of scouting, they have more contacts and see more people in their communities every day than many of us. So by increasing their number, we hope that we can also spread the influence of scouting through community contacts with them. Another area that we're focused on improving is the training and engagement for our members. We need to increase the percentage of trained leaders, because that'll assist us in adding quality and safety to our programs. So you're going to see a push the fall starting in the fall and through the spring in leadership training and more training opportunities. A well-trained leader significantly increases advancement and camping participation. And we all know that those are the things that are key indicators, leading indicators in retention for the program. So for engagement, our commissioners are going to be encouraging folks to increase the use of Scout Book to log community service hours. This not only helps with advancement records, but increases our visibility and community awareness, which ultimately impacts the recruitment of new scouts. Again, the more they see you in the community, the more they see you on social media, the more they see the good works that you're doing, the more scouting is going to be at the forefront of their mind when it comes to activities for either themselves in the case of scouts, and but also for the parents when it comes to choosing activities that their children participate in. It also helps us measure the impact our scouts make in the communities that they serve. You know, there's nothing better than seeing a post about a scout camping trip, or a service project, or one of the ones that highlights someone's Eagle project and what a difference it made in the community. The third area that we have identified for attention is our marketing. We're going to increase the visibility in our communities through both activities and then also the use of marketing on social media. So don't be surprised if you see more marketing, more advertisements on social media, more engagement on social media. And in this respect, we could really use your help. This is a really simple thing that you can do whenever you see a scouting meme or a appropriate joke about a camping trip or something like that, or a picture of a scout having fun. Like it, share it, follow the web page or the Facebook pages, comment on scouting posts. These things all impact the visibility of those posts, and they serve as a reminder to that youth or parent thinking about the scouting program that we're out there. So we want to grow the social media followers across the different platforms, and grow the number of Delmarva Council website visits, which also directs people to the Join Scouting, the beascout.org website, where they'll be able to engage and sign up for information, find out information about their local troops. So please share, like, follow, invite, tag, comment, all that stuff to get those posts out there. Finally, we're going to make some much needed capital improvements to our properties. So things that our board identified as areas that will help attract and retain more scouts, as well as an increased participation and safety rate at our camps. To date, we've refurbished the swimming pool at Henson, re-roofed the 3 pavilions at Ackridge, and regraded roads at Ackridge and Rodney, all of which make our camps safer and more fun to use. We're also this fall going to be installing new comfort stations at Ackridge, and soon after we'll be breaking ground on the renovation of comfort stations at Rodney. At Henson, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. And with plans for Rodney in the future. Sorry. We're aiming to make our comfort stations private, single-person facilities with individual showers, toilets, and sinks in each restroom, and that obviously gives people a more comfortable feeling when they're staying with us for a camping experience, going in there and using the facilities. It's also a huge leap forward for the girls that are now participating in our programs, because it'll make those facilities multi-purpose. So your help and engagement in any and all of the above will help accelerate our growth and service to the peninsula. So please think about what you can do, where you can be involved, how you can participate, and reach out to us, any of us, with your ideas and opportunities where you think that you could best serve. So we have a national plan to go over with you. So I think Robert and Greg are going to we're going to provide those points.
Different points. So there's a national 5-point plan that they've been sharing the last 2 years at our national annual meetings and some of the Scout executive meetings and conferences that I have to attend. And the first pillar of the national 5-point plan is lead the nation in youth safety. That is the number one thing as a national organization we're concerned about is youth safety, to the point where a national organization is mandating for our local council to have a new vice president of youth protection, as well as a vice president of scouting safely. And why is this so important? We just got out of a bankruptcy, and it was because of not having youth protection in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we're far safer today than we've ever been. But we just know as a national organization, what's been explained to us is our largest existential threat going forward is that next potential lawsuit. And I share that because we're all in this together. An accident in Hawaii impacts us. All of us on this webinar, we all pay car insurance. And if you have a young teenager that just got added to your plan, you probably got a couple $1,000s added to that insurance premium. If you get a speeding ticket,
like a man speaking from experience.
Speaking from experience, right? And if you have a speeding ticket or a car accident, what happens to those premiums? They go up. We are all in this together, as far apart as we are as a national organization, from scouting in Hawaii to scouting here in Delaware and Maryland and Virginia and the Delmarva Peninsula. We're all in this together. An accident here impacts rates there. And to break it down, what was shared to us was that 50% of the national registration fee is general liability insurance. And that general liability insurance protects all of us as adult volunteers, as professionals, as a local council. But that's half of every youth registration fee that I've got 4 kids in the program that I pay registration fees for. Half of that registration covers us as adults in general liability insurance. 25% is used for debt reduction because of the bankruptcy. And the remaining 25% is what our national organization is able to operate on in serving all the, close to over 1 million scouts that we have today that we're serving the Boy Scouts of America, Scouting America. So scouting safely is extremely important to make sure we can keep the rates where they are and not allow them to get any higher. So that is why the national organization has emphasized of all the pillars, the national president, if he's going to die on any of the pillars, it's going to be on scouting safely, because he strongly views this as our largest existential threat if we are not careful going forward. And let me explain how that makes a difference. We all do scouting here, and we want the best of intentions for our youth. And we just took our scouts back in, I want to say March or April. We went whitewater rafting at Pocono Whitewater Rafting with our troop. And it was an awesome experience. But even as a scout executive, I'm not as well versed in all of the guide to safe scouting. Fortunately, my wife, having been an aquatics director, knew that. And many of you can ask yourself this question. Did you know that if you go whitewater rafting, you're supposed to have a guide in your boat? You're supposed to wear helmets. So those are 2, and wear life jackets. Those are 3 mandatory things that have to happen, even if we're contracting out using a professional service like Pocono Whitewater Rafting. They have guides, but they're an additional cost, and they normally ride in a separate kayak. So you have to schedule even further in advance to get a guide on your boat. They provide helmets, but they're not required. So if you're not aware and you're whitewater rafting without helmets and somebody gets injured, we're not following our rules. And that's where we leave ourselves exposed. And so we need to be vigilant on the guide to safe scouting. It's there to protect us. My biggest fear as a scout volunteer and a parent leader, and as a scout executive, is have to go home and explain to a mom that their son or daughter didn't come home with us. That's probably any one of our biggest nightmares, just because nobody wants to have that interaction. And we can't afford to do that on our watch to make sure that scouting continues to move forward. So scouting safely is the number one priority for us as a national organization, even more than the so-called membership growth. We just need to make sure scouts are safe. A safe scout is a retained scout that's able to live by the values of the Scout Oath and Law. So just want to emphasize, lead the country in safe programs.
All right, the second pillar
of the national plan is change the way we work together. The first step of that is building trust and relationships. There's been a lot of doubt, I think, from a local council level to national, and likewise maybe doubt from units to the local council level. And we really need to do a better job of communicating up and down within the organization. Like the strategic plan above, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. The local council cannot exist without the national office, nor can it exist without the units. Units cannot exist without the local council, nor can we are all one big family. If we're going to take this organization forward and serve more youth, we have to work together. We need to remove those barriers and begin trusting one another. The second part of the change the way we work together is financial transparency. And I believe Robert or Brian, you'll be talking about that shortly. The third part of it is to grow membership and council fees if necessary. And we'll be talking about ways to mitigate council fees as we move forward. Thirdly is the business model and defining roles and responsibilities, and streamlining process and improving communication. And if you've seen recently, there's been communication that Brian talked about on social media, and we're doing things to improve websites and the way we communicate to our units. And then building mutual accountability, which means that you hold us accountable, we hold the units accountable, and we work together to be successful as a council. The third pillar of the program is having a highly relevant program. And that starts with the trained leaders that Brian talked about to deliver the program. Secondly is a well-planned unit program that the youth are interested in. Thirdly, we are in a continual process of improving camps and programs to make them more relevant and attract and retain scouts. And fourthly, we need your input on what you find as winning programs and best methods for us to improve as a council and as a camp. So even if it's outside of our organization, if there's things that you've seen have worked, please let us know so that we can include those type of things in our program.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the best programs really are, they take the best ideas from a lot of different sources and try to put them together. So, you know, we all have ideas, and we've all seen things that have happened in other councils and other areas of the country that have worked well for those councils. And so to the extent that you all have seen those same types of things, even if it was a different organization, but that runs a camp or a youth program, and you have ideas about how that we could implement those to improve our programs, improve our camp, improve our facilities. You know, the council's always available. Your board members, your professional staff are always available to you, and we're always looking for those ways. Just like tonight, our meeting is by Zoom, and it wasn't very long ago that would not have happened. That this kind of communication wouldn't have been possible. But we need to change with the way that the world's changing around us. These kind of communications are great. The availability for people to attend them from the comfort of their own living room is terrific. And so if you've seen something that's happening in an organization that you've worked with, or a different scout camp, or with different scout council, let us know. We'd really be interested in those ideas.
Yeah, you guys are our experts. Share those ideals with us. So we know.
Robert, you want to talk about the brand strengthening?
Yeah, so fourth pillar in the national plan that they have is broaden the appeal and strengthen the brand. And that's something I'm really passionate about, getting out into the community and talking about scouting. Will Rogers once said, the biggest problem with the Boy Scouts of America is there just aren't enough of them. So that's the thing. We need to grow our scouting program. I had a board member in Hawaii long ago provide us some free research. She had a research company, Ward Research, Becky Ward. And we went to the hotel. She brought in a bunch of panelists or participants that were not involved in scouting. And they sat in another room. We were in another room. And when the question about youth programs for character education came up instead of sports, and obviously the researchers knew that none of these families were involved in scouting, that many of them had their children in other athletic programs and things like that. And so when we talked about a character education program like scouting, around the room without fail, those families were like, is Boy Scouts even still around? And we're in another room just like, oh my gosh, just taking like an arrow to the heart because we had access to schools and we had posters and we thought we were doing a great job in marketing and visibility. And these non-scout families just like killed us. Basically said that, is Boy Scouts even still around? Now the same question came up about the Girl Scouts. And without fail, all those families are like, oh yeah, the Girl Scouts are around. In fact, the perception was that the Girl Scouts was a much larger organization than what the Boy Scouts was in Hawaii, which wasn't true. We had probably 2 scouts to every Girl Scout. But why is that? And you're probably thinking to yourself, cookies. And that's exactly what everybody in the room said. It's because of the Girl Scout cookies that the perception, the public perception of non-scout families had the perception that it was easier to be a Girl Scout and join the Girl Scout program and be involved, and that the Girl Scouts are still around compared to us as Boy Scouts. Similar question. Well, if the Boy Scouts were still around, what comes to mind when you think about the Boy Scouts? And that's when the Norman Rockwell-esque type answers came out. Well, they help the old lady cross the street, first aid, hiking, camping, outdoor activities. So our branding is amazing. We're just invisible and thought to be extinct. Whereas the Girl Scouts ask the same question, what do you think of the Girl Scouts? And they're not known for the camping, hiking, or anything. They're known for cookies, right? So our branding, our messaging is so much stronger, but we just tend to be a lot more invisible. So we've got a great vice president with Jen, who's trying to ramp up our marketing efforts with a new website, a new field, a lot more social media posts, engagement, some geofencing, using a lot of the technology that we have available. But to really push that further, Brian mentioned, you can really help us by like, share, and even comment, because I'm not the expert in social media. I'm not a huge fan of it. I do look at it, but the reality is I understand that if you actually type in comments, like and share, the comments add to the algorithm, which then makes more people see it. The posts become more visible because it's trending and it's popular. So our comments on how great an Eagle Scout project was, or whatever the case was, or I remember when I was in scouting, just a simple comment makes those posts a lot more visible to more people, and it gets outside of our scouting network as well. And we need to do a better job of becoming a lot more visible in the communities we serve. Popcorn, you'll hear me talk about popcorn without fail. It is probably one of the best visible opportunities we have as an organization, also one of the best fundraisers. We're never going to be the Girl Scouts and the cookies with our popcorn, but it does help with our visibility. Scouting for food, as well as participating in any local parades and things of that nature. Anything we can do to be out in the community and visible in our uniforms lets people know that we're still actively involved in our communities. And if they see that we're actively involved in our communities, they're more likely to join us when we do our recruitment efforts. I think we've all been there. You bought a car, and once you bought that car, you've now realized how many other people drive that same car on the road. But until you bought that car, you didn't realize how many people have the same car on the road. And it's just like scouting. We're scouters. We see other scouters on the road. But if you're not a scouter, we are invisible. And we need to become a lot more visible in the eyes of our peers. National does a decent job with some of their marketing and research efforts. And what they've found through some of their research is our teenagers in high school that are not scouts think what scouts do is cool, but being a scout is not cool. And the best way we can change that perception is by getting more of them involved to where as curb economics, enough people get involved, and all of a sudden it is the cool thing to do. So like, share, comment. Let's get more kids involved in scouting so it becomes the cool thing for all of our youth, so that we can impact the lives of youth with the values of the Scout Oath and Law.
That's true. I remember when I was a kid in high school in scouting, and nobody thought it was cool until we took a high adventure trip to Lake Temagami for 10 days and portaged with canoes, and
Yeah.
and then everybody thought it was awesome. So,
And probably the number one reason that young ladies started to join our program is the high adventure.
It's an
Yeah.
adventure.
okay, well, so thank you guys for that review of the National 5-Point Plan. Those ideas, that's good stuff. And while the plan that Robert and Greg just outlined for you is a national plan, it also has a application to our council. The bankruptcy has significantly impacted our funds, and we're currently facing budget shortfall. We need your help to raise approximately $100 more per scout this fiscal year, and that's a lot of money. $100 per scout in the program is a big lift. But we're hoping that our volunteers can help with that by increasing revenue through the Friends of Scouting campaigns and popcorn sales, or a combination of both. The district executives will be asking each of you for support to either help raise more in Friends of Scouting or start selling or sell more popcorn as part of our effort to avoid an increase in registration fees. Currently, only 11% of our Scouts families support the Friends of Scouting campaign. We'd like to see that raised, obviously, and only 16% of Scouts sell popcorn. And again, that's a good opportunity for fundraising for both the unit and the council. So the Friends of Scouting contributions represent about 10% of our annual budget. And for the last several, and Robert, you tell me, what's our board participation been in Friends of Scouting?
100%.
100%.
Ready to participate.
And the staff participation?
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. So that, it tells you a lot about the people who are working at the board level and the council level, and how much they believe in the program when 100% of our board is giving to scouting through the Friends of Scouting campaign, and 100% of our professional staff is also doing the same. If we move the number with our Friends of Scouting participation up just slightly on the family level, it will make a significant difference in the program we're able to deliver. Same with popcorn sales. Popcorn sales are also not only beneficial for the council, but obviously far more so for the unit, because the units keep 40% of the money that they make in popcorn sales. That makes it an excellent opportunity to fund their camping and equipment needs throughout the rest of the year. So those opportunities, those things are great ways to help us as a council raise the funds necessary to keep the registration fees and other program fees lower. But we can't do this without your help. So we're asking each of you to jump in where you can, encouraging people to consider a contribution to the Friends of Scouting program, encouraging your units to sell popcorns, encouraging the scouts in your units to participate and sell popcorn with you. And at the same time that they're raising money for themselves and helping offset the financial needs of the council and the camps that they attend, they're also putting money in their troop account so that they can have those funds available for those high adventure trips, for those camping trips, for summer camp, for equipment needs within the unit. So please take a step back, think about how you can be involved or encourage the involvement there, and jump in. The council staff's also planning some fun things for the fall to raise a little bit of money here and there. Stuff like a pumpkin patch and 5K run at Anchorage. Are both those events on the 19th?
Those both on the 19th,
October 19th.
as well
So-
as a family adventure day, all on that day at Anchorage, trying to bring the community in, kind of put us on the map.
Yeah, so make it a recruiting event too.
Yes.
And I understand you're gonna have a petting zoo and some food trucks.
Yeah.
And so
Plan.
the petting zoo lends itself specifically to the Cub Scouts that you want to reach for that camp. To put that camp to better use. We're also looking at increasing our summer camp attendance by implementing some incentives for in-council units to attend our home camps, one of the 3 excellent camps that we have in the council. So look for more information on that in the coming months. But in the meantime, when your unit's planning for their camping activities, their summer camp specifically, keep us in mind. Keep Rodney and Henson on your short list, and consider coming back if you're not already attending those camps on a regular basis, coming back and attending one or both of those camps on a regular basis. So we would very much appreciate that. So Robert, any final thoughts from our Scout executive?
I think whatever we can do to help our units grow, communicate with our district executives. You can reach out to me as well. I'm relatively accessible as a Scout executive to all of our units. My passion is growing this program. I'd like to see how many kids we can get involved, but we need to support you as our volunteers and let us know what you need as better support. But we can do so much more if we do this together. As Greg mentioned, if we can break down the barriers and trust each other that we're in this together for the right reasons and we're doing everything for the right purposes to serve more kids, I think we'll go a lot further in making an impact in the communities we serve. So please communicate, let us earn your trust and let's work together to serve more kids, because together, many hands make light work.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't see the questions, but Lisa, are you there?
I am. I don't see anything in the question box, but Valerie in the chat, Valerie asked, so why do we hang on to popcorn that many scouting families don't like to sell?
Yeah, well, so I mean, it's a nationally trademarked program, and I understand I don't eat popcorn, but I never walk past a Scout table without making a contribution, even though I'm not buying a product. So I hope to offset my my non-participation in the eating side of the popcorn by at least giving something to the unit so that they're out there raising funds. Certainly, it's not the only fundraising program that Scouts can participate.
Units have other unit fundraisers, but as Brian mentioned, the popcorn is a nationally endorsed program that we can do. And I love and hate the popcorn sale as well, believe it or not, but I love it more because what it does for our Scouts. It's not the easiest product to sell. It's not like the Girl Scout cookies, but I can promise you this. The Scouts that sell popcorn are making way, way, way more money to fund their scouting program than the girls that sell those cookies. And it's not a knock on those cookies, because those cookies are amazing, but they somewhat sell themselves. And the popcorn that our Scouts sell, they actually have to work towards their sales, but there's a lot of alumni that actually come forward and approach our Scouts and buy popcorn. My daughter right now, who's put in for her Eagle Scout, on her ambition statement, it just kind of warmed my heart, because on her ambition statement, one of the things that she put on there was that someday she'd like to be successful enough where she can walk up to a Scout table selling popcorn and buy everything on the table except what's in the car. And that exact verbiage is important, because last year, 2 of our Scouts in our unit was selling popcorn, I believe, in front of Lowe's, and an alumni came out of Lowe's, out of the other door. And because we were selling in buddies, one person was closing the sale. The other Scout ran to the other door, approached this alumni. Obviously, we didn't know that he was an alumni, brought him over to the table. And as he patiently waited, he made the comments like, I'll take everything on the table except whatever you have in the car. And that came out to like a $1,200 sale. And our Scouts get 40% commission off of that. So, I mean, they were tickled pink, and my daughter would like to feel comfortable someday where she can do that to a Scout selling popcorn in front of the store. But that story is not actually that uncommon. It happens more often than not. And even with donations, people may not always buy popcorn, but I can promise you, like I've seen multiple times where people will throw $100 donation because our scouts are out there selling popcorn and being out there in the community. Now I know there's argument like, oh well, you know, the popcorn, nobody likes to eat it or whatnot. That is expensive. It is expensive, but we're not selling popcorn. We're selling scouting. And the reality is, it's making 70% commission that comes back to local council. And of that 70, 40% goes to the unit. The council keeps about 25% because the rest we use in overhead, prizes, and additional things. Now, if we were to sell meat sticks, like meat sticks are easy to sell. You could sell meat sticks as a unit, but do you know how many meat sticks you'd have to sell in an hour to make what we make selling popcorn? Because I can be a little bit of a nerd at times, I actually have spreadsheets that track the net hours or the net sales per hour that our scouts benefit, their net benefit. And you may not believe it, but our scouts range, each one has different effectiveness. I have scouts in my unit that net $90 an hour to $20 an hour. And this is a net dollar amount. So, I mean, that's, you know, after taxes benefit of what they're getting coming back to the unit. Like that is really good money selling popcorn. So, I mean,
Really good money for a 14-year-old.
For a 14-year-old, or even Cub Scout, even.
Yeah.
And you know, the other argument is like, well, Cub Scouts are the only ones that sell popcorn. I'm involved with a troop right now, boys troop and girls troop, and combined, our troop sold over $50,000 last year, and that's teenage awkward boys and girls selling popcorn in front of the stores.
Yeah, it's also a visibility issue. To Greg's point earlier, you know, when they're out in front of a store selling popcorn, it's a good excuse to stand in front of the store in your scout uniform for 4 hours and talk to anybody about the scout program who comes by. You know, query whether you couldn't even make it a little bit of a demonstration for your unit by throwing up a board with pictures of the cool activities that you've done in the last year. Not only to show people who are buying popcorn, this is what you're funding, but also to say, hey, this is what we do. So if you want to do some of this, you want your child to be able to do some of this, come do it with us. So.
I think I even recall, you know, selling popcorn with the Cub Scouts, and when somebody said, well, I don't eat popcorn or it's too expensive, I'd be like, hey, you want to buy a bag of popcorn and we'll donate it to a food bank or something like that. So there's neat gimmicks that you can use to try to sell the product.
Yeah, and for clarification, I don't not eat popcorn because I don't like popcorn or because it's expensive. I don't eat it because it's delicious, and if I start eating it, I'll eat a bunch of it. So, and I'm already too fat. So that's anyway. Any other questions, Lisa?
Yes, Valerie wanted to know, can our council do a camp card?
I won't say no to the camp card. I've had experience with camp cards in Hawaii as well as in Colorado. And my personal bias, if you will, again, being the nerd that I was with my own kids, selling both popcorn and camp cards in front of the same exact stores. I had spreadsheets where I could tell you that my scouts, my kids were netting $20 an hour selling camp cards. But in front of the same stores selling popcorn, they were making $80 an hour. So I mean, given the choice, I'd rather net $80 an hour fundraising than $20 an hour fundraising. Camp cards are an easier ticket item to sell at $5 to $10 normally, with all the coupons. But from my own personal experience, the return on investment for a parent's time or the scout's time in front of a store is so much higher selling popcorn. And again, I'm happy to share with you my spreadsheets and how many hours my scouts work in front of the stores and what each one nets per hour, benefiting them. And we do individual scout accounts for our unit, so they're personally motivated to fund their adventures.
And you know, it's always a great idea to pitch things like this. And I think ultimately, if we were going to adopt a policy for a different fundraiser at the council level, it would come up to the finance committee, right? Where
Do that, review it.
So you know, pass those ideas along, and we can always consider them at the board level. See if there's enough interest in doing something different. Anything else, Lisa?
Yes, Matt Gessner. Is it possible to talk about Friends of Scouting to our charter organizations or other organizations?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Through your professionals, or even as individuals, if you'd like to approach or have us approach the charter organizations about Friends of Scouting, be happy to do that and help assist with that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I mean, that's your charter organization should be an area of support for your unit. So they should definitely be Friends of Scouting. No reason why they shouldn't participate in the Friends of Scouting program. Next question.
I don't see any other questions.
All right. Well, as you can tell, it's getting a little dark here. So hey, we've been on. How long have we been on? 50 minutes. Holy cow! Taking away the 10 minutes it took for us to get the technology right, which again we apologize for. All right. Any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah. I guess for me and for the scouters that know me and the love and history I have for Delmarva, we've been the Delmarva Council since 1923, so about 101 years. I'd love to see us go another 100. It'll be long past my time, but to do that, like we said, we need your support. I know it's critical even when we go and try to get donations from the community that they look at how much support we provide ourselves. So it's key to help us. Also, our camps. If you haven't considered summer camp attendance yet for next year, if you would consider Rodney or Henson for your summer camp. I think we're talking about Henson in 65th year. So if you'd like to attend Henson and celebrate, please join us. And I think that's all I have. Anything you'd like to add?
I think, Brian, you mentioned the community service.
Mhm.
I think that's another one. Like, if we can, let's do a better job of logging our community service hours, because it empowers us as an organization to go into the communities and share with Rotaries and foundations and grants the impact that we make. So many times we typically measure the impact we make in the number of kids we serve. But while in Maui, I learned the impact that we make is so much greater than the scouts we serve. Last year, we logged more than 29,000 hours of community service in
Wow.
Scout Book. And that has an economic value, believe it or not, to the communities we serve, in over $953,000 of community service that our scouts are providing. And that, keep in mind, and I'm guilty of it because I know my unit hasn't been doing a good job in putting in our community service hours in Scout Book, which basically means the 29,000 hours that we were able to pull out of the computer from Scout Book is very underrated. We're putting in way more community service hours than the 29,000. And for those units that are reporting it, thank you so much. But if we can all do a better job reporting that, I mean, just think about it. 29,000 hours of reported hours equates to more than $953,000 of economic value to the communities we serve. So it does make a difference. And I think when we tell our story that way, people are blown away. Like, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, when you're asking somebody to support asking a foundation or an organization to support some capital improvements at your camp, and you can tell them, the kids that come to our camp provide X number of community service hours within the community, and it has this value. And also when you're making a pitch for recruitments to go into the schools and things like that, and recruit kids for the programs, and you can say, hey, here's what we're doing in your community around you. You may not know what we're up to, but here's what we're up to, and it has a real value. So that's good. Both very good points. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you coming out and making this happen.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah, always. And folks, we will talk to you again soon. But we hope you've enjoyed this fireside chat, even though we had to move away from the fire over there. We're keeping an eye on it, and we're going to go hang out by it for a little bit and chit chat some more. So thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You get your bottom line.